Okay, it's time for a diary entry. Time for a life update. Weather update. It's raining rocks from outer space. Really though. Feeling manic still. More. Nobody seems to be believing me. Everyone's like, oh yeah, like, good job taking care of yourself and trying to get ahead of this before it gets worse. And I'm just like, it's getting worse. Hello. Like, I'm doing everything I can. I'm following my medication regimen. I'm going to all my appointments. I'm trying to do group therapy, and it's not happening. So they didn't tell me. I went to a new place, because it's closer, and I was having trouble leaving the house, so driving half an hour away to go to my last place was not feasible anymore. So I switched to a place that's closer, and that also does telehealth with certain things. So that's been really helpful. But first off, it took forever just to get my first appointment, and if they had told me that it would have taken that long, like if they were like, oh, we'll do intake and then we'll see, like, we'll evaluate you and see what you need, basically. I was just like, okay, like, let's get this moving. And if they had told me from the start that they were really overloaded and didn't have a lot of space, and that my appointments would take a long time to actually get, if they had been upfront about all that, I would have gone somewhere else. Like, I wouldn't have wasted all this time just sitting here in limbo, like, in between med adjustments, like, literally in between med adjustments. Like, I was going down on one med and up on the other because the first med isn't working anymore, which seems to happen every, 2 to 3 years, and then I have a breakdown. So, it's been about 3 years since my last breakdown. It's like, it's time. I'm trying not to, look for it, but it's fucking happening. And the group therapy portion of my treatment, they said first that I would start the next week after my first appointment, which was just an intake appointment, mind you. Didn't actually get any kind of help, just intake. And, and I had to have 2 appointments with them before they would even schedule a medication management appointment, which they also didn't tell me in the beginning, or I would have gone somewhere else. Because I was just sitting there in the middle of switching meds for weeks. I would have just stayed with who I was with previously and missed a lot of the beginnings of appointments because I'm having so much trouble leaving the house. I should have just done that and just been like, listen, I need an accommodation. Like, don't kick me out of the program. Let me come in late because I'll still come up. Like, I'll still show up. I just need to get there, physically get there. I should have just done that, requested some kind of accommodation, which I did see. I did ask if there could be telehealth, something via telehealth, and they were like, no, we don't do telehealth at all whatsoever. I was like, cool. So this new place, the group therapy, they said it was starting the week after I had my first intake appointment. Then they said it was starting the next week, once that week, had come up. Once the date for that they had told me that it was going to start, once that showed up, once that came up, they were like, oh, just kidding, it's next week. I was like, okay, cool. And then that week, they were like, just kidding, it's at the beginning of May. I was like, awesome. Great. Love that. Nice, very good, love that. And then that date I was like, hey, I just realized I never got a link for the Zoom because it's hybrid, both in person and over Zoom. And they were like, oh, like, let's figure that out. Turns out it wasn't scheduled till the next week. That week was this morning. And nobody showed up. I was the only person to show up to group therapy. That's helpful. It lasted like a half an hour just because the facilitator, she was like talking to me about like what the group will work on, and like asked what I want out of the group and stuff like that. So we discussed some things while waiting to see if anyone would join, and then nobody joined, so we did a breathing exercise and ended it early. So that was helpful. That was really helpful. Good. Now I know the plan for hopefully next week, when hopefully people actually show up. Which I'm like, you could literally do it virtually. Like, why aren't you here? It could be a whole bunch of stuff came up for people. I don't know. But like, nobody showed up. I'm not getting the care that I need. Not that it's not like my care doesn't rely on other people outside of the medical professionals who are helping me. But like, I haven't been getting the care that I need. And it's been affecting me. And nobody seems to have the sense of urgency that I do. Nobody but my therapist. She's just kind of like, she keeps checking in, like, so how are you feeling with all the mania symptoms? Like, she says it more eloquently than that, but she's like the only one who seems to be like, oh, and my dad. I think because he was one of the people who saw, and some of my friends, so I guess not nobody's believing me, but no medical professionals other than my therapist, no professionals are believing me or seem to have the sense of urgency that I have. So it's like what the fuck? Like, if I have another manic episode, I'm at the start of one. I'm having a manic episode right now. It's happening. I can feel it. Like, hello? Help. Like, help me. Limbo. I was in limbo. In between meds for weeks. Just chilling. Trying my best. Trying to get to work, which I haven't been able to do because it's been difficult to leave the fucking house. And by difficult, I don't just mean I'm a little anxious. So stepping out the door is difficult. I mean, like, I have a breakdown just trying to leave my house to go to work. And if I have to leave the house for a different reason, it's damn near impossible as well. But for work, it's bad because I'm like, just talking about it. It's the anticipation of a whole bunch of things. And the thing is, all the things I'm anxious about are things that are valid. Like, it's like, it makes sense that I'm anxious about them because they have happened. Like, not just because, like, oh, that makes sense. Like, they have happened, so it makes sense that I'm anxious about them. Like, being misgendered. The longer and pinker my hair gets, the more people go, miss, ma'am, she, like, her, honey, sweetie, usually by old men. Which just makes me uncomfortable. Because then it's like, if if they don't see my beard at first and call me honey or sweetie, and then they do see my beard and feel some sort of way about that, like, I feel unsafe. I feel unsafe. And I live in, it's not a huge city, but it's a bigger city than I've ever lived in before. And I don't feel safe. And I'm not willing to buzz my head again to shave all my hair off, because I've done that multiple times and it's soul crushing every single time. I like my long hair. It feels like me. I've always liked long hair. I've almost always had long hair. Like growing up, it was like all the way down my back. And I'm attached to it. Like, I like my hair. It makes me feel good. It makes me feel good about myself. It's one of the only things that makes me feel good about myself. So I'm not changing it for anyone, including my anxiety. So, because I've done that. And like I said, it's soul crushing. So it's the lesser of two evils. Am I gonna not leave the house, not be able to go to work, lose my job, lose my housing, lose everything? Or cut all my hair off, spiral, emotionally, mentally, and end up in the hospital? This one also ends in the hospital. So it's like, which one? Both end in the hospital. Great. Nice. Very good. Love that. So I'm anxious. The anxiety is turning into mania. And I need to start shouting about it. Apparently. I'm doing EMDR. I don't know why I made that face, but I guess because it's like, it's new and I don't like new. It's a change. But it's also, it feels promising. But that's a lot of work that I have to do right now while I'm feeling manic. I should have done it sooner. I should have done it years ago, like my therapist recommended. And I looked into it, and I got cold feet, and then I forgot about it forever. Until this new place was like, hey, we offer EMDR. That's one of the things. And I was just like, I was looking for an IOP program, but sure, I will take what I can get at this point. So for my sort of hodgepodge IOP plan, it's meds management every like 2 weeks, I think. EMDR every week, mostly. And then group therapy every week, mostly. So like, and I see my individual therapist outside of the practice, outside of the new place. So, because apparently they don't have like an IOP program, like per se. It's just an amalgamation of things that they offer, which kind of equals an IOP program. So like, great if it worked. Like if it actually happened, it would be great. So waiting to have an actual group with actual people, still feeling manic, feeling more manic, trying to get medical professionals to understand the brevity of the situation and the severity of my symptoms. Because like they seem to be understanding my anxiety and the fact that I can't leave the house, because that's a pretty clear indicator. Like, agoraphobia. Like, that's a big, it's well known, relatively probably. It's like a more, not tangible isn't the right word. It's a more concrete, like, yes, your anxiety equals not leaving the house. Like, it's we see the link. So what I'm thinking that they're thinking, like, yes, I see the link. With my mania, it's sort of like I'm describing all of these little symptoms and they're not putting it all together. They're just like, oh, well, this could be a symptom of that as well. And this isn't as like severe enough to indicate mania. Like they didn't say it in those words, but like I get the sense that all these people I'm talking to are even the people at the last place I was at. It's like it's going over their heads. Like the anxiety isn't, but the mania is. I think they're latching onto the anxiety and thinking that I'm thinking that the anxiety is mania when it's not. And I'm like, listen, listen. I know my body. I know my body well. And I know that the last time I was this anxious, the last time I couldn't leave the house, it turned into mania. Not only is it turning into mania right now, it started turning into mania already. It is mania now. And in fact, I've had a little bit less difficulty leaving the house the past couple times. And it's because of the way I was feeling at the time, which was sort of bitchy and sort of confident in a way that I'm not used to. A little, but noticeable enough to be like, because I normally don't have a lot of self-confidence. I normally am not very bitchy. I normally don't stand up for myself that much. I'm trying to, but normally I don't. So the sort of combative, like ready to fucking go, like, come at me, bro. Come at me with those wrong pronouns. We'll zip them back at you. Like, call me miss, call me ma'am. I will call you miss or ma'am too, or sir, depending on what your gender presentation is. Watch me misgender someone else in doing that. Someone else who's trans. That would be funny. Like if the scenario I'm thinking up in my head is that if someone like purposefully misgendered me and I purposefully misgendered them back, except I would do that based off of just their appearance alone, because I'm thinking like a stranger, you know. So that would be funny if that stranger ended up being trans themselves. And if no, it would be gendering them correctly, unless they're non-binary. So that, anyway, scenarios like that pop up in my head all the fucking time. It's one of the things that distracts me from other things. And then I'm like, I've just been sitting here imagining a scenario that will probably never happen. And I do that a lot with things that I'm anxious about. I'm like, oh, what if this happens, and then that happens, and then this happens, and then this person says that, and then that person says this, and then the whole conversation goes south, and then I'm like, I just spiral. Trying to get a hold of my thoughts more, and to why are you yelling? Make sense of them more. And I've been trying to identify what I'm actually saying to myself. Like I'll imagine conversations that's different. I'm trying to think of what I'm actually saying to myself in moments of anxiety and panic. Like, what am I telling myself? Am I telling myself, like, you can't do this, this is too hard, this is overwhelming, this is not gonna work, like, you can't leave the house, you can't go to work, blah, 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 blah. I don't know what I'm telling. Like, I get so, like, my mind goes blank. But I think I'm telling myself, like, negative things. And I'm trying to, like, hone in on what they are so that I can address them and tell myself something better. So that's something I'm working on as well. So, yeah, spent 3 hours on the phone yesterday. That was fun. Ended up being very productive, so that's good. But yeah, trying to get life in order, and life is not lifing. So hopefully next week's group will actually be attended by more than just me and the facilitator. And hopefully my new med takes the edge off the mania at the very least, if not fixes it completely, which is what my last med did 3 years ago. So I'm really, really hopeful. I've also been on this med before in the past, before I knew I was bipolar, because it also treats sleep, insomnia. It treats insomnia as well. So that's what I was taking it for. I didn't realize, neither did my prescriber at the time. We didn't realize that we were treating my bipolar as well. So it's probably why I felt so good on it. And so stable. I think the only reason I stopped using it was because I wasn't getting quite enough sleep. I was like, it was helping with sleep, but I wanted more help with sleep. So I was like, let's try something different. I kind of wish I hadn't. I kind of wish I had been like, no, this is sufficient. Because I think I was looking for something that might not exist. Like, I just might not be able to get that good of sleep. Or maybe my perception of good sleep is just too, like, unachievable. Yeah. Anyway. 22 minutes. So yeah, hopefully people will attend the group. Hopefully EMDR goes well and isn't too overwhelming, and that I'm able to properly compartmentalize things in between sessions. Hopefully I'm able to do that. And hopefully my support system continues to be supportive. Because I don't know where I would be without it. So, yeah, that's where I'm at. Weather update. Those rocks might have contained water. If you haven't seen the history of the entire world, I guess, go watch it. And before that, the history of Japan, because that's even better. Anyway, that's it. Okay, bye.